So today we're doing a video on, let's say you want to get some proprietary bits on Guix. Today we're going to make RMS Mad. So Guix is one of the few FSF approved distributions, which means it uses the GNU/Libre kernel, the GNU Linux-libre kernel, and it has no proprietary bits like Wi-Fi drivers and so on. In my experience, if you run into hardware incompatibilities on any of these, it's typically just Wi-Fi drivers. So if you're so principled you don't want to run any proprietary bits except for, I guess, microcode, and you don't want to switch out your Wi-Fi drivers and you're willing to use Ethernet, then here's an option. Now, to get those proprietary bits, what we're going to have to do, like for example, we're going to get the full Linux kernel, is we're going to have to go here and we're going to add a channel. A channel is a repository that Guix can use for whatever it's going to use it for, or you're going to use it for. There's the gaming channel that's also linked here. If you want to play Quake 3 and Duke Nukem, or there's other games here like Terraria, whatever. Like all these games. You want to play any of those? They're there. If you want to do that on Guix. But anyways, I don't have the gaming channel set out because I'm not a gamer. But what you're going to do is you're going to go to this directory and you go Guix. And you want to come here. You're going to add this file here. And it's going to include any extra channels you want to use beyond the main Guix channel, the main Guix repository on Savannah. So anyone you want to use, just put it in here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to run the command Guix pull. And then it's going to pull everything from there. See, it pulls from the two repositories, the two channels. When that's done, you'll be able to get stuff from the non-Guix channel. Then, while that's going, I'm just going to take you where you're going to want to go next. You're going to want to go to whatever file you use to configure your Guix, and you're going to add a few things. Right under this submodules one, you're going to add these two lines: non-GNU packages, Linux, non-GNU systems, blah. And then you're going to go underneath the operating system one here. You're going to add kernel Linux, and we're just going to get all the firmware. You can specify the firmware if that's something that you desire. If you don't want to, have everything on there, you can specify specific firmware, as if we go over to IceCat, this points out if you want to specify specific firmware. So, after you do that, you're going to want to reconfigure your Guix system, as it says right here. And that may take a while, because you got to compile the whole Linux kernel now. So, yeah, it's really simple to do. And you can get about anything on it. And, now it's just going to be you geeks install something, and we could get Firefox, we could get whatever now that's in this repository. And yeah, it's that simple to get it there. Um, really simple thing to do. I can't think of anything else I have to add, but we're just going to let this finish. This is how you make RMS really upset, because now you're running non-free firmware and your Wi-Fi drivers work. Ignore microcode that's not free though, okay? Well, they don't tell you to ignore microcode that's not free, but they still cope about it. Yeah. You can use this. I highly recommend you try out Guix. It's a very easy, customizable distribution. There's some logic that's different from any Linux distro. The entire file structure is different. Give up on ever being able to just make, install, and things work. Um, but it is quite a nice distribution. I recommend it. You should use it. You should try it out. I have enjoyed my time with it, even though I haven't spent too much time with it. And you can get things set up just how you like it. And things are configurable in Guile. There was a speech I watched that I'll link down in the description that was like, it used the great analogy, Guix is the Emacs of Linux distros. It's really going to give you the true advantage of free and open source software. Especially with the fact that you don't have anything proprietary on your start. You have to do this extra little bit of work to get that if you really want it, or you want certain bits of hardware to work. But even then, I don't think that compromises what's really good about open source software too much. At least in my experience, it hasn't. Like, what has really taught me like the benefit to open source software has been Emacs, because it is just, hey, there's this little thing I want to do, or a little thing I want or want to customize, and just little edit in a config file that's also, in the case of Emacs, written in the same code as the thing itself is built in, ignoring the little C part at the bottom of Emacs. So it's like really nice to have that and see just the power that that gives you. Guix does some of that, but for your whole OS system, and puts it all onto similar logic. Because, there's this whole problem with being a power user where, if you got programs, let's say you use Awesome WM, well, a lot of that's written in C, configurable in Lua. Then you have all these other programs. You have Ranger, your file manager, and then that's written in Python and configurable in its config file. So it's just sort of, you're limited to whatever they give you sometimes in the config file, or sometimes they give you a whole language to configure stuff in. But even then, it's not all the same language. So Emacs puts everything onto the same wavelength. And using Guix sort of moves you more into that sort of flow of everything's on the same wavelength. But yeah, that's all for now. I've been Lane_OS and peace out.